Place, Cliff?
Yeah.
For sure. Anytime. Hi, how you doing?
Oh, boy.
Sorry. Had to run to the restroom. No.
Let me put my hat on for you, everybody.
There's a whole lot of business going on in the news.
You like? Got my trusty old hat on. And,
as it turns out,
let me turn Skype. Is your Skype on? You should turn Skype on.
I have it. I have a signal. I have a fully charged battery. Let's go. Everybody, are we live? This is lovely.
We're live. Welcome to Torn Tuesday.
Torn
My name's
Tuesday.
Justin. That's Cliff. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live.
Always a pleasure,
from
sir.
Meltdown Comics, Hollywood.
The heart of the mountain.
She-Holler.
The Heart She-Holler on Adult Swim. Almost an unwatchable show.
It is unwatchable.
Almost unwatchable. But, interesting, though, sometimes just for the gory, crazy stuff that they do.
The Heart She-Holler.
The Heart She-Holler.
Some things I just don't understand.
But
that show I do not understand.
Here's what I don't understand, that the showrunners and the network at Adult Swim would say no to Angus Oblong, the famous animation director who created the hit series The Oblongs. He's a great cartoonist.
Starring Patton Oswalt.
And he comes in with a brand new show, and they deny him. He comes in with another new show, and they deny him. Then these other folks who are producing The Heart She-Holler, they walk in and they get the green light at Adult Swim. I can't understand why that happened.
It's Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, no, really.
He's got like 10 times more followers on Twitter, and we know that.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt is
every
awesome.
Television decision nowadays is made by the number of Twitter followers you have.
Probably.
True?
There's some credence to that.
True.
There's a great deal of credence to that.
True.
Does that go in the middle world?
Thank you, Francisco,
Amen.
the voice of Meltdown. Yeah. The voice of Meltdown floating in the distance. We're
we were just
Guess where Patton Oswalt comes to visit every month?
Where?
The Autry Museum.
The Autry Museum.
Yeah, the Gene Autry
Meltdown
Museum. He's a member.
He's also
and he comes
a
to
regular
Meltdown Comics. He
at
comes to the
Meltdown.
cool places here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's so many cool people. Tonight it's Tuesday. We broadcast live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
But it's crazy that this comic book shop, which is the home of Meltdown, the home of Nerd, it's been around since 1993, the year of the riots. It's on TV.
Yes.
The Meltdown is a TV show, and its season finale is tonight.
That's very exciting.
Tonight on Comedy Central.
Very exciting.
At 12:30, right after At Midnight, which started here. You remember those beta tests?
Yeah, the beta tests for At Midnight.
At Midnight.
I remember when Meltdown first opened. They were across the street where the Chibo restaurant now resides.
Yes.
Okay? And they were only next door. They had one slot of a retail space, and the restaurant was a sandwich window. Only a takeout window to take sandwiches to go and then go on your way down the lovely Sunset Boulevard. Tiny little Meltdown, then expanded, and then expanded again and moved across the street. Now they're over here on this side with this, like an acre of land over here on this side of Sunset Boulevard.
It's huge. It's beautiful.
Meltdown is, if you've never been here, you guys got to come. The stages are right underneath us. We're in a really lovely converted loft space above the stages. And we have such great reinforcement and support from the geek community, from Nerdist, our friends who are right next door doing their Nerdist podcast, and Mr. Hardwick, our friend.
All the time.
He provided us the foul-mouthed Gandalf toy. That was lovely.
Oh, that was so good.
He's provided the best comedy. He's great. I love that guy. Now, here's the stuff. Skype is on. You guys are going to have to find me, not me as personally, QuickBeam2000, like you find me on Twitter, but we'll have to find Butterbur. Is it Barlaman Butterbur on Skype?
Just search for the One Ring Net.
I thought it was under the name Barlaman Butterbur.
But that's the name
Skype.
that pops up, but it should be the One Ring Net.
Okay, should be the One Ring Net. Okay, look for us on Skype. Anytime.
So we're on Skype. You
Yes,
can
we are.
also text us or call us at the phone number that's scrolling
lovely.
above our heads.
Lovely scroll.
530-64-FRODO.
For Frodo.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually text it anytime, day or night, and Cliff or myself or one of only a few other people have the Torn hotline.
Who have the touch.
Yeah. Josh.
That's a Transformers joke for you. We've got the touch.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We've got the power. Josh Rubenstein has the power, who's the host of our...
I love Josh. He's such a clever man and very erudite, and he's going through the Silmarillion, episode by episode, chapter by chapter.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday on the Torn Book Club, and that's where you need to tune in for our good fellow, good friend, fine-feathered friend that he is, Josh Rubenstein.
We get a lot of flack once in a while on Twitter and Facebook, like, you guys aren't Tolkien fans, you just obsess about Peter Jackson and his terrible movies, and you guys are just movie fans. And, we love the books, more than the movies, but the site was founded after the movie went into production.
This continues to be a topic of conversation. Some people at theonering.net, myself being one of them, have just been staffers who volunteer our time to the Tolkien community because of our long-standing, decades-old love of Tolkien's books. It has nothing to do so much with Peter Jackson's films than the fact that his presence in the marketplace has really increased our awareness and has allowed us to have many more conversations on a pop culture level, which I find very entertaining. And I think personally, when I made Ringer's Lord of the Fans, and I dedicated 4 years of my life of blood and sweat and tears to that documentary, made in association with theonering.net, I think I demonstrated that I'm not a Peter Jackson apologist, but I'm a big Tolkien fan who loves all aspects and all adaptations of my beloved professor's work.
He's not a PJ apologist, and I am unapologetically a fan of PJ. He is the George Lucas of our time, and he's making all the same decisions George Lucas did.
Good for good or for ill.
For good or for ill.
He is making an interesting trajectory. You have drawn an analog that may be comparable at many different points in that arc of both of their careers.
You know, interesting.
Fascinating.
Check this out.
Go with this.
Peter Jackson has directed more of a single cinematic universe than any other director in the history of film.
Because Lucas excluded himself from several of the Star Wars movies.
Lucas did not direct Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi,
which are two of the most important ones.
He only directed
four out of 6
of the Star Wars films. And if you go to Marvel, Joss Whedon only did 2 Avengers.
Two out of
Jon
12.
Favreau did 2 Iron Men.
Yeah.
So everyone's in for 2. Peter Jackson has done the most out of anything. I mean, look at Blade Runner, Alien, or Prometheus. Alien has had
Batman,
4 directors.
Tim Burton was in for 2 Batman films, but not more. Christopher Nolan has hit 3 Batman films in that franchise.
Yeah.
David Yates managed to do 3 or 4.
He did 4.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Out of this, not 7, but 8 Harry Potter films.
You know what someone told me the other day?
And it's interesting when you have the correct perspective. If you add in the extended editions as other works, then perhaps Peter Jackson has done 12
You can argue
films. 12
that Peter Jackson
films
is the most
in the same franchise.
The most prolific
cinematic
director of any franchise.
It is safe to argue that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something interesting. Someone told me the other day about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Voldemort was trying to create 7 Horcruxes.
Tom Myarvolo Riddle.
Tom Riddle tried to create 7 Horcruxes, and by happenstance, he accidentally created the 8th, which is Harry Potter himself.
Yes.
Right? An accidental 8th Horcrux.
Ah, okay. Interesting. So there was an accidental 8th film.
There was an accidental 8th film.
Interesting.
I wonder if the splitting the final Harry Potter
cosmic.
Into 2 films, turning Harry Potter films into an 8 series, is true to canon, and I think it is.
It is true to canon.
It's great to see Jan in here. Aerovandi's in the chat room. August Oakenshield, Marfels. Great to see
the usual suspects, all right here.
Our regulars and everybody just joining us.
Welcome aboard, guys. The Harry Potter phenomenon was, I think, a mistake, and I want to point out an analog to the Hobbit films, and the way they were broken down into 3 pieces. And look at the way Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was broken down into 2 pieces. The 2 pieces of Deathly Hallows really work better when they're together, viewed as a whole. It is also the same argument, and it is becoming more conventional wisdom now with fandom, and I've said this before, that the 3 Hobbit films work better when they're together in a set. They really do. What is your opinion on that, Justin?
The extended editions are what should have been released. But
beyond that point, the 3rd film, Battle of the 5 Armies, feels like a 3rd act, and the other 2 films feel like build up and build up, and continuing build up. And it builds up to something where you had to wait a bloody year for the final outcome, and that may have impacted reviews of the film. Across the board, I think reviews and the public's reception of this Hobbit endeavor might have been a different ball of wax if it had been 2 films or less. The prospect of making it 3 films put a real strain, maybe a strain on the movie-going appetite and the way the films are experienced as a narrative whole. That's a whole conversation I'm just willing to have right now. If the 2 Harry Potter Deathly Hallows films work best together, if the 2 Kill Bill volumes work best together, can't it be said that The Hobbit shouldn't have been split at all? What do you think?
I think the extended editions prove that there's enough material to work with to make it engaging. I'm just frustrated that the extended editions weren't the editions. Here's the difference.
Well, I share that.
You know, before we get into that,
share that sentiment.
I just posted these shirts again. The May the Dwarves Be With You. We've got so many emails.
Shirt. Yes, you did repost that.
So they're available yet again.
The spoof of The Hobbit and Star Wars
for the holidays. May the dwarves be with you. This is the shirt to have this season because The Hobbit's coming back to theaters and Star Wars is coming back to theaters. So you can
in the same year. Brilliant.
So you can have the same shirt for both movies and talk about every time we wear it. So much geek cred. People are just like, "Yo, where'd you get that shirt? That's amazing." That's
true.
So cool.
I do get a lot of comments on that shirt, I have to admit.
Yeah.
The Sauron Obey, which is the spoof of the Shepherd Fairy design that says Obey with the Tower of Barad-dûr, and this design, those are the 2 upon which I get the most comments when I'm, especially at a fan event.
Here's the problem. Here's the biggest difference between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings is that the Lord of the Rings released in theaters was a fully formed, capable movie. The Lord of the Rings did not feel like anything was taken out. It felt whole.
Yep.
Every single movie of Lord of the Rings felt whole. And then when the extended editions came out, it was for fan service. It was just like, well, here's some extra stuff that we filmed that we know you guys might enjoy. When The Hobbit came out, they actually made the extended editions first in their head, and then they started trimming to get it to a shorter movie. So the movies that we've seen in theaters feel incomplete. They just feel incomplete. And then when you see the extended editions, it's like, oh, that makes sense now. That whole opening scene in the Desolation of Smaug where they talk about Thrain, and then in the theatrical version, Thrain has nothing to do with anything ever. I start to understand why we don't have any Hobbit merchandise. No dragon toys, no nothing. Is because
just a limited edition of
I've just seen some toys coming out this Christmas, and they are they have Dane riding the war pig, the big hogs, and you even saw them in the trailer. These carts pulled by war pigs on the ice. Remember that scene where he like skids around the ice? Those are the coolest things in the trailer.
Yes,
the toy makers went out and started to make the toys. Mm-hmm. They went to manufacturing, and then it wasn't even in the movie.
How about that? So they couldn't. They pulled it off the market.
How can a toy company sell a toy for a figure that's not even in the movie? This would have happened when the first Hobbit movie came out, and they made all these Bolg and Azog toys
that were pulled.
And then
the Bolg toy was totally pulled because they changed Bolg.
They changed Bolg completely. They changed Azog completely.
And then they took Tauriel out of the film because of the restructuring at the last minute, and so took those toys off the market.
So if I'm a toy company, I'd be so pissed at The Hobbit because you changed everything for the last 4 years.
It really messed up the licensing for the manufacturing. It really did. And only one dragon toy, a significant action figure, which was from the same toy line that made all the other action, the regular 6-inch action figures.
There's other stuff that were in the trailers, like, where does your journey end? That's a great line. We saw it in the trailer. We heard it.
Not in the films.
Not in the films.
It's funny that you used the descriptor, something missing from all these films. You kept saying how these Hobbit films always felt like there was something missing, and yet they often felt like they were padded and bloated at the same time. Ironic, perhaps, because it did feel like there was necessities of the narrative that were missing. The way that we remembered Lord of the Rings was woven together with lots and lots of interweaving and lots of interlacing of different things and people and places and times. But the Hobbit did seem to be especially evident in the Battle of the Five Armies theatrical version, that there are wholesale characters and scenes that do feel missing. Even though it feels like some of the action fight scenes, Ravenhill, back to the front of Erebor, Ravenhill, back to the front of Erebor. Yeah. Some of that stuff seemed a bit padded, but, cut to the chase, the eagles show up at the end. It's a bit funny. There's something that has happened to fandom with the Hobbit films that did not happen. Overall, with Lord of the Rings, there wasn't that much polarization. The Hobbit films have succeeded in perhaps polarizing a large vocal fan base more than perhaps Lord of the Rings ever did.
And people in the chat room are saying that Bolg is straight up
good and bad
creepy.
At the same time.
He might be the worst thing about these films. Bolg was just wrong. Sometimes people make mistakes. The original Bolg, which we saw guarding Gandalf in the Battle of Five Armies.
Yes.
That's the original Bolg.
Yes.
He's awesome. He's amazing. He's terrifying.
Yes.
You can get real close up. You can see him grit his teeth, and it's just like, I'm terrified. Bolg looks like a smaller cave troll. The character design of Bolg just doesn't look smart. And
you mean Bolg 2.0?
Bolg 2.0.
The one we ended up with.
Yeah. Doesn't look like a smart guy, yet he is a commander of a huge battalion.
Yes.
At least when you look at Gothmog, you can see there's a military mind working.
Yes. Oh, very clearly.
Like all
Gothmog was so ghoulish and so what you'd call like Mask, that movie with Cher. I mean, it was like you immediately got past the grotesque and you were looking at the eyes, looking right, and because it wasn't CG, there was a person there. You were actually really registering the performance of Lieutenant Gothmog, the commander of Mordor's forces at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. It was a totally different vibe there. Then Bolg gets chastised by his father with some obvious dialogue, like, "And you let them leave?" And points his sword at him and walks around him on the warg,
Yeah.
The matriarch, which is the actual name of this white warg that he is riding. So, don't scold me, Daddy. I let Legolas get away, well...
Like, they made something awesome, and then they made it, and then they went with something less awesome. And I'll never understand that decision. But the other, but stuff like this always happens. They still
managed to achieve some good, really coherent things with their existing Lord of the Rings films.
Totally.
That make all 6 films work in a whole new way. And you gotta, I guess from now on, my verdict is start the newbies on the Hobbit films, because consider them lesser films, and get to the major, successful masterpieces at the end. Don't let somebody watch Lord of the Rings first, and then watch Hobbit films in regress. If they're a brand new person, I think it might suit everyone better. This is my final verdict on this. To start them at 1, 2, and 3. Maybe Lucas wants the same thing in programming for his next gen of Star Wars fans. Does he want them to watch 1, 2, 3 first?
I don't know.
Now, you're closer to the Lucas camp than anyone here. Do you think the director intends newbies to pick up 1, 2, 3 first?
The director intends.
Do you think Jackson is analogous also to Lucas in the same way?
Yes.
So, I don't know. Maybe we could get some comment from Peter Jackson. Maybe he'll come on the show and share his thoughts with us. But that does seem to be the inner workings, the inner logic of the way the films work.
Speaking of changing characters.
Changing characters, yes.
That's completely unrelated. KFC, the fast food chicken joint, they've had this... They've had
the most popular fast food chicken joint in the world, franchised around the world.
But they've had a campaign for the last 6 months featuring the Colonel.
A new actor portraying the long-deceased Colonel Sanders, who created the original secret recipe of the fried chicken.
For the last 6 months, I've seen these 50s commercials for KFC with this new Colonel, and I'm just like, there's something about him that's creepy.
Yep, and they're playing it for creepy. They are. Wait, when Burger King did this goofy redesign of the king, and it's that goofy guy standing around with that king mask on, and he's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to go for that same vibe in
Actually,
KFC land.
They're not.
Don't you think?
It was a total misfire.
Oh, really?
And the reaction
because he does these.
People,
he does. And he makes these creepy laughs while he's trying to sell you chicken.
They fired him.
They did?
Turns out that Colonel was played by Daryl Hammond from Saturday Night Live fame.
That Daryl Hammond, I remember him from SNL.
And it turns out he's so creepy. It wasn't just me. I thought it might have just been like there's something that is real creepy about his. It's not mischievous. It's just creepy.
Yeah.
Well, they fired him, and now they've got Norm Macdonald from Saturday Night Live playing
You're
the
kidding.
Colonel.
They've got Norm Macdonald dressed up now
as the Colonel.
As the Colonel.
Yeah. So Norm Macdonald is selling you chicken as the Colonel because Daryl Hammond was creepy.
McDonald's did not change the actor who played Ronald McDonald for decades until he finally got too old to do it, and then they changed the actor who played Ronald McDonald. Now, this major chain, one of the biggest chains in the universe, for better or for worse, KFC replaces their Colonel Sanders in a matter of weeks.
Weeks.
Because of the response of the internet.
Yeah.
Behold the power of the internet.
So...
Behold the power of the internet.
So I feel
you just lost your Colonel Sanders.
I feel like
to another Colonel Sanders.
If you can listen to the fans
Lesson learned.
And say, you know what, everyone thinks that thing's creepy and that thing's not working, we should change it. Well, Peter Jackson, he changed Bulg from what they filmed, and then the reaction was terrible. Everyone was like, I don't like that character. He could have gone back and changed him again.
He could have, yes.
But he didn't.
Well, characters are going to be changing right under our noses in the next coming months and years. The great monolithic mega studio, because they're not just a little animation studio from Anaheim anymore, but the great megalithic entertainment corporation, Disney, now owns the Star Wars and George Lucas universe, the cinematic universe of Star Wars.
And Marvel.
And Marvel.
And Pixar.
And Pixar. And so under the umbrellas of all these things, Disney has control over many, many, many familiar faces.
And they're making a lot of movies.
Many familiar actors and actresses and wonderful people that we love from our Lord of the Rings and Hobbit universe are now going to be tripping the light fantastic over to other franchises under the Disney Megaverse. Let's call it the Megaverse of Disney, because it includes lots of tentpole epics, lots of franchises, and lots of universes. So, we're going to talk about all that mischief today. And my buddy here, Justin, has... Did you create this?
Yes.
This lovely timeline that we're looking at right here. Hold it up. And guys, freeze frame that. Freeze frame that and watch it at home for half a second.
That's a lot. You can actually just go to our Twitter or Facebook.
A lot of this data has come from D23. Was it D23 that just happened?
D23 Expo is the Disney version of Comic-Con. It was this weekend at Anaheim Convention Center.
And that's what everyone's been buzzing in the air about the things.
They've had this thing for the last couple of years, and they started slowly, and now D23, which is run by Reed Pop, who's the same people that do New York Comic-Con, PAX, and a few others.
Yes.
So Reed Pop put on D23, and I tell you, it felt better than Comic-Con. I mean, everyone, there was no judgmental fans there. Everyone was at D23 having a good time, camping out all night for the panels. I mean, they slept. And the cool thing is that at Comic-Con, they make you sleep outside.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to get into the next morning's panel. Well, they actually allowed fans to line up, queue up indoors inside the convention center.
That's brilliant. Without having to stay outside.
Without having to stay outside. So it was like an all-night party.
That's so cool.
And you know, fans of every size and shape and cosplay were out there. They had a Tinkerbell bun bar where girls can get, or anybody could get their hair in a bun.
Just like her?
Yeah. I mean, they called it a bun bar. It was quite amazing, and it got me thinking. You know, we've got Hobbit Con, we've got several conventions
that are very specific.
That are very specific to Tolkien,
yes.
And nothing like what D23 had. And
do you have this on our Facebook timeline?
It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter. And so
gotta see this.
So I thought today we'd go through some of these movies and share information that we have about all of our favorite Lord of the Rings and Hobbit actors that are going to be in Disney movies.
So
it's
cool.
Crazy.
So cool.
How
Look
much
at this.
they own.
This is it. Here is the Tolkien Fan's Guide to the Disney Film Slate. So good. So good.
First off, let's talk about the new Star Wars The Force Awakens, which comes out in December of this year. Andy Serkis is the bad guy.
Actually, Andy Serkis is one of two bad guys.
Well, there's bad guys and then there's the bad guy.
Like, are you going to spoil the script right now? Because I don't want you to spoil anything.
I'm not spoiling anything.
The guy from HBO series Girls, what's his name? Adam
Driver.
Adam Driver. He's the villain that's in the preview poster that they showed at D23. He's the one seen in the teaser trailer wielding that amazing red lightsaber that has that flickering hilt.
Yes.
Lightsaber hilt. That's Adam Driver, isn't it?
Supposedly.
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 Everyone says that's supposed. Okay, all right. I guess we'll find out.
Nothing's been confirmed, and supposedly the two kids that we see on the desert planet are Han Solo's kids. Who knows? Why are they carrying around lightsabers?
Okay,
I have no idea.
All will be answered by J.J. Abrams in the coming months, very soon. So the release date is this winter 2015.
And Andy Serkis is playing an all CG character.
Motion capture?
He's all motion capture.
Oh, fantastic! All mocap from and that's going to be so fantastic. It's going to be badass. It's going to be so good.
And that you actually hear Andy Serkis's voice in the first teaser trailer. That deep voice for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Something has awakened. You know, or something. I forget what it is, but that's Andy Serkis's deep.
That's Andy's voice.
Voice in the first teaser trailer. So go back and watch the Star Wars: The Force Awakens teaser trailer, the first one.
All right.
And you'll hear he sounds kind of like Darth Maul did, where it was like fear is my ally.
Yeah.
So Andy Serkis is has a major role. So he's going to be in. He's supposedly going to be in the whole trilogy. He's signed up.
This kind of excitement of having Andy Serkis cross over into some of the biggest franchises, besides being in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, as Gollum all over. Now, and even King Kong, when he did that amazing motion capture for Kong himself. Now he's going to be in so many other franchises. He's getting close to Hugo Weaving territory.
Yes.
Where Hugo Weaving, as we know, is in every major fan.
And what we just found out recently is that there's a new picture that was in Entertainment Weekly of Star Wars, and there was like this big creature that you saw BB-8 and the girl, and then there was a big desert creature like a dewback with a metal head with something over his head, and then there was a little guy riding the creature. That little guy is Kieran Shaw, who was Frodo. So Mr. Frodo himself, he's one of only 4 people in the history of cinema to ever portray Frodo. Kieran Shaw, the size double for Frodo.
Yeah.
He is in the new Star Wars: The Force Awakens. He was in Return of the Jedi as an Ewok. And then he went on to Lord of the Rings, and he was in The Hobbit as the scribe.
He plays he was in The Hobbit as the scribe goblin who has a little
goblin.
Has a poop bucket under him as he slides off into the darkness.
He's in that bark. He's
in
that bucket
thing. He's in many Tim Burton films. He plays all of the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and indeed he also plays in. Has he been in? What other Tim Burton efforts has he been in?
None. Tim Burton usually hires the other guy.
Kieran Shaw did another Tim Burton film, but it'll come to me later. He's been in everything. And he's also been in The Throbbit. Our friends did the spoof of The Hobbit.
Yeah, he did.
And he's in The Throbbit, which just came out on DVD and Blu-ray. And I want to give a shout-out to our friends who did The Throbbit, which is a very funny spoof.
Yes.
And they've been having some theatrical showings and at college campuses and having a very good time with The Throbbit film. So you've got to look them up. The Throbbit. Really, really out there spoof of The Hobbit. Now, Kieran Shaw has been lending his talents to many a fan project. Do we know exactly who he's playing in The Force Awakens?
He's playing a creature from the desert planet, guy that is friends with the main girl. Maybe
a Jawa unmasked. Do you think it'd be interesting to see what they look like underneath?
No, he's a little bigger than a Jawa.
Okay.
Supposedly this is a different desert planet.
Okay.
So
not Tatooine.
It's not supposed to be Tatooine.
Okay. Then who else do we have? Finest Hours?
So the Finest Hours, I can't remember what that movie's about. I think it's a shipwreck movie or something like that. It's based on a true story, whatever it is.
I saw the teaser trailer.
The teaser trailer's been out forever. I think it was supposed to come out this year, but they postponed it to next year.
They did indeed.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out this year.
It has Chris Pine and Eric Bana.
Bana.
It is, to me, it looks like they're treading in the exact territory of George Clooney's A Perfect Storm.
That's what I was
exactly what this
about.
film looks like. And it's about these Disaster at Sea.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's a big time Casey Affleck, Eric Bana from the first version of The Incredible Hulk, which was directed by Ang Lee, rather mischievously, and it didn't work. So, and Eric Bana also from Munich, which is a great film. And then check this out.
So Graham McTavish is in that movie.
Did you see him in the trailer? I didn't see Graham McTavish in the trailer.
I saw. Yeah, he's in a quick scene. He's. I think he's one of the sailors. He'll make a great sailor.
Yeah.
I want to see that guy cuss like a sailor.
Yeah.
I don't know if there'll be a lot of cussing because this is a Disney movie. Speaking of other people in trailers, did you see the quick scene of Dean O'Gorman as Kirk Douglas?
When?
He's in this new movie with the guy from Breaking Bad.
Yeah? As Kirk Douglas?
And Kirk Douglas plays one of the Blacklist writers of Blacklist Hollywood. It's like an old biopic. And then they go, "Sir, you've got a call from Kirk Douglas." And then there's Dean O'Gorman just like looking,
you're kidding,
like chisel chinned, cleft with a big old cleft, and just like looking
playing
buff.
Kirk Douglas.
Yeah,
Dean O'Gorman, Kirk Douglas.
Dean O'Gorman. He shows up so briefly.
Hobbit
in
actor
the trailer.
to play Kirk Douglas in Bryan Cranston's Trumbo.
Douglas Trumbo, right?
Yeah, Trumbo. That's the name of the film.
Trumbo.
Yeah. All right. How about that?
Are they making all these Star Wars movies at once? No. They're
you know what? He could pass. He could pass.
Well, he does. You got to see him in the trailer. He looks amazing when
Really?
he's completely clean shaven and stuff.
And
like,
made up to look like him? Wow,
yeah,
okay.
He's got
Wow, okay. He
so
could
they're
pass.
doing the Star Wars
fascinating.
movies just like they did them last time, which is like they do one movie, they release it, then they film the next one, then they release it.
They're not concurrently shot the way that Rings trilogy or Hobbit trilogy was done.
Yeah.
Or Matrix had...
they did two of them at the same time.
They did Revolutions and Reloaded at the same time.
Yes.
A question in the live chat. Marfels, it's lovely to see you guys and all of our live chatters with us. Hello, Spirited Book, and hello, everybody, Iravandi. The question is, Rogue One, is it a spin-off?
Yes. Rogue One is...
set in the universe.
It comes before Episode 4. It's
right.
It's the story of how they stole the Death Star plans.
Yeah. Oh, and it's supposed to be a grittier, more intense.
So you know how at the beginning of Star Wars, when Leia's typing into R2, and
yes.
this R2 unit has some things that are really important, and R2's holding the plans of the Death Star. So this is the story, and the rumor has it on a side-by-side comparison in the picture that you saw of Rogue One.
Yes.
That's Biggs Darklighter, who's Luke's best friend from way back in flight school. So Rogue One is basically the story of Biggs and how they stole the Death Star plans.
That's fascinating. But there's a reference at one point where someone says, is it Admiral Akbar in Return of the Jedi, who says many good
Bothans
died
Yeah.
Getting this information.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get a reference to that, but that's not Rogue One.
And Akbar's going to be in the new Star Wars Episode 7. So is Nien Nunb. So
coolness. Okay, all this coolness is happening.
They're trying a little hard. The big surprise, Marvel's Captain America Civil War
has now contracted Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis together to be in Civil War.
We have confirmed that Civil War will have Black Panther in it.
Yeah.
And Black Panther's arch nemesis is Andy Serkis's character.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
From Winter Soldier. No, The Avengers 2, right?
Well, yeah, he does show up.
Yeah, it's Ultron because they
in Age of Ultron, yeah. So, Ulysses Claw. That's him.
Claw.
He does show up. Andy Serkis already appears as Ulysses Claw
in a non-CG character.
Yeah,
so it's
completely.
Actually Andy as Andy.
Yeah.
So Ulysses Claw is supposed to be in Civil War with Black Panther.
Yeah.
Martin Freeman has signed up into the Marvel Universe for Civil War, but they haven't announced what he's there for, and they curiously excluded mentioning him in the D23 presentation. So
they excluded mentioning him?
So they didn't even mention Martin Freeman in Captain America Civil War, which I guess is supposed to be according to our friends at Meltdown Comics downstairs, Civil War is supposed to be just insane, crazy. It's basically where heroes and mutants start to side.
This is fantastic. Look at this.
And people start deciding it's us versus them. It's humans versus superhumans versus mutants. And if the X-Men universe was in play, like, it would be mutants on one side. The Civil War is supposed to be pretty crazy. Yeah, he looks the part.
Andy Serkis as Ulysses Klaue, the way he has been cast, and the way they've designed his makeup and his beard and everything look just like this character. This is great.
So Andy Serkis, Martin Freeman in Civil War. Also crazy, Dan Hanna,
multiple Oscar winner
from Lord of the Rings.
Dan Hanna, a good friend of the OneRing.net.
He won for Lord of the Rings.
Yes, he did.
And he was nominated for The Hobbit.
Dan Hanna is a gem. He's an incredibly talented art director, and he's going to be lending his creative muse to Disney's Alice Through the Looking Glass,
which is supposed to be a surreal experience.
Is it going to be set in the Tim Burton verse?
It's set in the Tim Burton verse, but it's more like,
which was already kind of surreal.
They say it's a Dolly painting come to life.
Really?
That's what they're saying. So Dan Hanna is like taking an acid trip and visual effects supervising Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Well, that's going to be really interesting. So it'll be live action. Do we know who the director is?
Tim Burton.
Mr. Burton is attached. Very good. Excellent. That'll be exciting.
And I don't know if you know this, but our boy Thorin is going to be in Alice in the Looking Glass. Richard Armitage is going to be in Alice Through the Looking Glass. He's going to have a major.
How did you confirm this?
Character cameo.
How did you know this?
Really? Get ready.
How did you know this?
Get ready.
This is breaking news on the OneRing.net. Are you kidding me?
Richard Armitage. There was a little nervousness of whether they would.
Is this in the realm of gossip or assurance?
He's already shot it.
Okay. All right. Wow. He's already shot it. Wow. Okay.
So.
Okay.
Richard Armitage and Dan Hanna will be in Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Impressive.
Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis in Civil War.
Impressive.
And but the next big Marvel movie is Doctor Strange. And if you
the most exciting thing that I want to see next in the Marvel universe.
If you saw our Twitter and Facebook page, they blew up today. Our Twitter blew up because of
these images.
Of these images of Benedict Cumberbatch. They're just drawings of Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange.
They look fantastic. There's some great designs, I have to admit.
And they aren't official. They are fan-made. This guy was just doing some sketches, but he laid them out like he was an artist for Marvel, but he's not. It's just a totally fan-made thing. Mm-hmm. But it looks great.
It does.
Benedict Cumberbatch with that voice and Doctor Strange. I can't
Dr. Stephen Strange.
Dr. Stephen Strange?
Master of the Mystic Arts. Which is exactly what he's called.
It's going to be really... And everyone... And Disney was saying that this is the most mystical Marvel movie ever. Oh, yes.
They do.
They do.
They do. They bring it right to him.
And then we see that in Guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. So we'll see. We'll see.
There's got to be some Hobbit people in Guardians of the Galaxy, but we haven't heard any yet because they haven't started casting it because they're still writing it. And they're in pre-production. I tell you what, though.
What will you tell me?
Pete's Dragon.
That's going to be a big one.
It was a joke. 2 years ago when we had that T-shirt, which you can now get again. I mean, it's relevant. Peter's Dragon. Yeah. Remember that? That
was a great shirt design.
Parody logo of Pete's Dragon, but Peter's Dragon because Peter Jackson made the best dragon.
Yes.
Well, turns out Disney was like, we got to reboot Pete's Dragon. What childhood favorite?
We've been hearing a lot of noise about this in the background. It was a starring vehicle for Helen Reddy and the amazing performer Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney, Helen Reddy from the original 1970s Pete's Dragon, which was, at the time, it was the Who Framed Roger Rabbit of its generation.
Yeah, it was animated.
It was the most spectacular combination of live action and classic Disney animation together in the same world with animated characters occupying the living photograph world.
I just remember Mickey...
Which was done so well in Mary Poppins and in Bedknobs and Broomsticks to another degree.
But they've never had a main character
that's what
as an animated thing.
And Helen Reddy, believe it or not, her song, Candle on the Water, Oscar nominee for Best Song, although it did not win that year. Pete's Dragon.
Mickey Rooney
coming back
was in that, right?
Mickey Rooney was the lead. Mickey Rooney and Helen Reddy and the little boy were the 3 starring leads of... And then there was the crafty guy with the mustache, who was the snake oil salesman.
It's hard
Remember
to overestimate the importance of Pete's Dragon technically. It was
What's it going to look like now?
Pete's Dragon, when it came out, was basically the equivalent of Gollum.
Yes.
In Lord of the Rings, Gollum being the first CG character that held his own as a main character.
And Pete's Dragon held his own as a real character inhabiting a completely photographed, photorealistic
world. And he interacted
world.
With the people. He picked people up. Like, Pete's Dragon...
He blew things up. He destroyed the sides of buildings. He did all kinds of things. And they had to create all those goofy physical effects for when he would run through the barn and the wall would break down in the shape of him. Like, it's cartoon. Some cartoonish type of things that they did.
So Disney calls up Lord of the Rings, Oscar-winning executive producer Barry Osborne.
They did.
You remember Barry Osborne? He had a gray beard.
Of course.
And curly
Uncle
hair.
Barry Osborne.
Uncle Barry.
He was the best.
Osborne. He was in all the extended edition interviews.
He was that very, very friendly, very grandfatherly, fun type of guy. He was like the real life Theoden, who was always smiling. He was always in a good mood. But he was a great guy. Barry Osborne was the lead producer.
So
on those Lord of the Rings films.
On Lord of the Rings, but he did not come back for Hobbit, which was
he did not.
Curious.
No. It was Zane Weiner, who became the lead producer,
but
along with Carol Cunningham.
Zane wasn't on Lord of the Rings.
I don't know. I'd have to look that up. He might have been a different type of on a different production level on LOTR.
Well, so
but Pete's Dragon, come on.
Disney calls Barry Osborne.
Who's the right person to call?
And Barry
to do Pete's Dragon for you.
Barry Osborne. His first call is like, well, there's only one place that can do a dragon.
Yes.
And so Weta is designing Pete's Dragon.
It's going to be so cool.
Weta's doing another dragon.
But it's going to be probably
It's going to be the cartoony version of Smaug.
Is it going to be CG? Or is it going to be CG. 2D? The way the original Pete's Dragon was 2D.
It's going to be CG.
Really?
Yeah. This is going to be a real world with a dragon.
This is going to be really cool. This is going to be really... Because they're going to go for it. When Weta does this, they're not going to play chintzy. They're not going to do it small. But he's going to be a charming, like a Snuffleupagus type character. The dragon of Pete's Dragon is more along the line with the kids show that Weta is so famously producing right now.
Jane and the Dragon.
Jane and the Dragon.
They don't make that anymore.
But no, not anymore. But really cute, cuddly, fun dragon. Family-friendly, cute dragon.
So, taking over the Mickey Rooney role is Robert Redford. And
that's so cool.
And we've got we've confirmed that Carl Urban, Eomer is going to be...
What news of the Rittermark?
Eomer, who's one of my favorite... I mean, Carl Urban, he was in Resident Evil. He was Judge Dredd.
What a great Judge Dredd.
He was in...
That reboot of Dredd was awesome, by the
way. He started with The Rock in Doom.
Yeah. He's done so much cool stuff.
What, was he in any of the Fast and Furious movies?
He may have been. He was also in... Was it Ultraviolet or Aeon Flux?
Aeon Flux.
He was in one of those movies. No, actually, the character actor who played Celeborn, Martin Sokas, New Zealand actor Martin Sokas, who played Galadriel's husband or partner, Celeborn, he was the lead in Aeon Flux.
So Carl Urban...
Not to be confused with Carl Urban. But anyways.
Carl Urban is going to be in Pete's Dragon. And then Barry Osborne, as executive producer, he just calls up his other buddy.
Give me your name, Horsemaster, and I shall give you mine.
And who has done some of our favorite music...
If your head was just a little bit further off the ground, Master Dwarf. Go ahead. Sorry, I had to do it. I just had to do it. I love it.
The interesting thing is that they've hired Howard Shore to do the score for Pete's Dragon.
This is a full-on reunion. Out of the whole timeline, you guys take a look at the timeline we have on our Facebook page, and you'll see that it's class reunion.
He's in Star Trek. Carl Urban's in Star Trek.
In Star Trek, of course. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Thank you, August.
Bones?
Oakenshield. He's Bones McCoy. Yes, he plays Dr. Bones McCoy. The funny thing is that you want a class reunion of all alumni of Lord of the Rings. They are gathering together on the Pete's Dragon effort.
Here's the thing.
It's their class reunion.
Part of the charm of the Howard Shore thing with Pete's Dragon makes me a little nervous. That's the only thing that makes me a little nervous.
Why so?
Pete's
Young Padawan. Why would you be nervous?
You just mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Pete's Dragon is known warmly for its songs.
Oh, they're great. There's some great
Oscar-nominated songs.
I'll be your candle on the water. I can't sing that high, but anyways, it's a great song.
So part of the charm of Pete's Dragon are the songs. That you know what else is known for its charming songs? This little book called The Hobbit.
We actually got a charming song or two in an unexpected journey.
A song.
We got the Goblin King. We got the Great Goblin. The Great Goblin singing.
3 movies, 9 hours of feature film, and we get 2 songs at the beginning.
That's why the change in tone.
That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So that's the first movie. The second movie could have had 2 songs. The third movie could have 1 song. And it would have been a smooth transition. You hire someone like Howard Shore because you respect his knowledge and his respect of musical language. He is well versed in the language of music, and he knows when to. I mean, he incorporated some beautiful vocals in a lot of his music in Lord of the Rings. I mean, when the Balrog is fighting Gandalf, and you hear this da 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 ba da da, like he's and that's actual Tolkien language that they're singing. Okay,
provided by David Sallow.
So they like he's
Tolkien linguistic expert,
respected, and he didn't.
And then you get Billy Boyd's tragic, tear-inducing a cappella musical number. Right during the chapter, The Sacrifice of Faramir in The Return of the King.
Yes.
Granted, I get your point where you're going with this, but...
So, you hire a guy like that is strong, is smart, intelligent, and strong. You hire him for his intelligence and his skill.
I hope there's a song in Thorin's funeral. I hope that the Battle of the Five Armies restores at least one song. Look at how this works. In the Hobbit movies, that last song that we get near the end of the book, when the barrels are arriving in Esgaroth, Lake Town, and you get this musical number that's going on in the book, and when the dwarves are revealed and they're warmly welcomed by the people of Lake Town, and there's no espionage or running around and hiding in Bard's house, and we don't even meet Bard's family. This is all extraneous stuff in the films. But in the book, you get this great song, which was transposed and became a prophecy. And Luke Evans was given the dialogue of that song, and it just ends up becoming the prophecy that he reiterates when he finds the tapestry that shows the genealogy of the dwarven line of Durin.
Okay.
So there is bare fossilized traces, just fossils of that old song, but it is given to voiceover dialogue to Luke Evans at that time.
All I know is...
And it exists in another form,
we know
but it's not sung.
That Howard Shore appreciates this, appreciates a song. He appreciates vocalization. He knows the language of music, and
yes, he does.
He wasn't allowed. He didn't provide the. I don't know if it was the force of will of Peter Jackson saying we're not going to put any songs, or if he did. If Howard Shore didn't assert himself strong enough to say, you know what, we need to put some of these classic songs in here, you know. So I don't know where the breakdown in the power structure was, but I really hope that Howard Shore steps up on Pete's Dragon and says, you know what, part of the charm of this movie are these songs, and I hope Howard Shore incorporates that.
Disney is unafraid of musicals. They just redid Sondheim's wonderful Into the Woods with Meryl Streep and everybody else in the sun, Chris Pine himself. And, you know, we're going to see Chris Pine, you know, with Graham McTavish in The Finest Hours. So you guys stick close together. Hobbit, Lord of the Rings actors are all a big confluence in all these Disney projects. The Pete's Dragon thing, if they go straight narrative and no musical numbers at all, will you be pissed off? Because I hope they at least have the end credits song, "I'll Be Your Candle on the Water." I hope they at least have that song at the end credits.
I feel
Maleficent?
it needs
Maleficent
more.
resurrected. I know you. I met you once upon a dream.
Yes, that was perfect.
Lana Del Rey was only given that at the very end credits. It didn't appear in the narrative.
Oh, and that was a perfect choice to sing that.
But it was great to have Lana Del Rey there. But if they take the song out of Pete's Dragon, they might just stuff a couple of numbers at the end credits. We don't know. We'll find out when we get there. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I'm more looking forward to that than I can mention. But moving forward, way further into the year 2016.
That's next winter. That's only next year.
You guys know that the great, very, very saucy French... the French candlestick, Lumiere, the most famous what's it called? A skirt chaser. Lumiere is something of a skirt chaser, and he has a friend in the castle who's a stuffy, more British old clock who was played by David Ogden Stiers in the original Beauty and the Beast. Yes, we're talking about Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Will it be a musical?
Yep, I hope. And because Mr. Ian McKellen knows how to sing.
So Mr.
I should not say, forgive me, slice my tongue off, chop, chop. It should not be Mr. It's Sir Ian McKellen.
It is a straight-up musical, and Luke Evans can sing.
And so can Ian McKellen. Sir Ian McKellen is going to be playing Cogsworth, replacing David Ogden Stiers, who I've always loved. And who, of all characters, is big, buff Luke Evans going to play? With his manly man muscles.
He sang the song at D23. He came out on stage and he sang it.
Gaston. Yes, he did? What?
Yeah.
He came out and sang the Gaston musical number.
Garfamea was there.
You're kidding me.
And she saw
really?
Luke Evans.
Luke Evans came out and sang
Gaston.
You're kidding.
No.
Did he have accompaniment with another actor playing LeFou?
No.
His friend LeFou?
He just came
in. His little sidekick? No, it was just Luke Evans.
It was just Luke Evans.
Wow. I'm just so down.
That man
so
can
down.
sing.
That is the Alan Menken original score.
Yes.
Yeah, the Alan Menken. They did the Lion King. The Lion King was Elton John. Excuse me. But they did The Little Mermaid, and they did Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. That'd be Howard Ashman, the late Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. I think Howard Ashman is still with us. Do you believe it? Luke Evans and Ian McKellen singing.
Gaston, people were like, "What? He's too small to be Gaston." I'm like, "No, you don't understand."
I'm telling you, they're going to be having cocktail parties after the recording sessions. Luke and Ian are going to be having the greatest after parties after the recording sessions.
Luke Evans is
I want to be there.
Hugh Jackman. I mean, the man can sing.
He can
dance. He can play the alpha. I mean,
he's even though he's openly gay, he can totally play the alpha male without any question or any hindrance from the mass market audience who just eats him up. And he was a dashing good Dracula in Universal Cinematic Universe, the Universal Monsters Cinematic Universe.
And he's supposed to be in more
movies. Rebooting Dracula Untold. That was our Luke Evans.
He's going to be in more movies as Dracula.
Really fascinating career trajectory for Luke Evans. And what's he filming right now that's so interesting? He's been tweeting about it.
I don't know.
Luke Evans is filming something he's finishing up something before he goes to do Beauty and the Beast. And I have to look it up. It's time to go to IMDb and see what Luke Evans is in. But what else do we have down the road?
Let's just take a moment. A live-action Beauty and the Beast musical
with the flower petal in the glass jar. Slowly, the petal's disintegrating. The whole thing.
It's just... And these guys know how to sing. Does Emma Watson know how to sing? Hermione Granger herself is the belle at the ball.
Emma Watson is one of my favorite actresses in the world right now.
Really?
She's not afraid to actually go to the United Nations and be part of a statement and a lobbyist group about feminism. And she's appeared at functions around the world. I think she's got the potential to be something more than just a great actress. I sense in her perhaps a different position, maybe in the civic arena, maybe in the public sector. Who knows? In her future career. But I see Emma Watson doing great things. Kind of like Hermione going on her little political trip to, get liberties and civil rights for the house elves, which was a whole storyline removed from the film adaptations of Harry Potter universe, but I still see a lot in Emma Watson that could become fantastic. And as Belle against Luke Evans, her trying to resist the advances of Luke Evans as Gaston, priceless. It's going to be so cool and so priceless. But remember how well Disney did with their live-action movie Enchanted? Yep. With Amy Adams and the evil Susan Sarandon and Peter Pettigrew, you know, the actor who played Wormtail.
You know who would be
the character actor who played Wormtail was in Enchanted, but they did a big musical number in Central Park, and they did it well. I think they can do a big live musical number at the opening of Beauty and the Beast, and it could be so great.
Belle's father.
Oh yeah, the awkward professor who is inventing things, and she's just defending him all the time to the villagers.
I was just thinking Derek Jacobi.
Derek Jacobi?
Yeah.
That's brilliant casting. And Ian McKellen could probably get him, in there to get that. That would be great.
They're best friends.
They're bestest buddies. Patrick Stewart, maybe?
No, he's not crazy enough.
Not crazy? I don't think he has the right largesse. Let me think about that.
I wonder what they'll do about designing a live action of the Beast. Do you think they should do a makeup effect, or do you think they should go all CG Gollum style?
Beast has to be CG and then transition to human. And that is going to be one of the more interesting visual effects, difficult things that they're going to have to do, is a really full-on transition from creature to human. The things that we wanted to see in Beorn, that we were cheated of. We thought that Weta was going to give it to us, but
that's what Peter Jackson's good at too.
I know, and I agree with you on that.
Like Bad
we agree,
and the Frighteners.
In that live-action Beauty and the Beast, I think that they should keep the Beast full-on CGI, because in another...
Kevin Kline is playing her father.
Kevin Kline, brilliant casting.
Very good.
Brilliant
and
casting.
He can sing.
Love.
That man can sing.
Yes,
too.
he can sing his heart out. He's brilliant. Okay, I'm down for that. But to see what Disney is doing with their live-action properties, Maleficent, Beauty and the Beast.
Did you see Cinderella?
The upcoming the Cinderella that already came out. Blah 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 blah.
Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella.
I did not see it. I didn't. But
I didn't either.
But you know what this is? This is a legal effort to grab and control the rights to stories, so that those versions of them do not slip into the public domain.
No, they're already in the public domain.
Of course they are, but these versions,
that's why there was a Beauty and the Beast TV show starring Roald Perlman.
But do you know why there's a Tigger movie, and then there's a Piglet movie, and then Eeyore gets his own movie? Because Disney keeps trying to ratchet forward in the court system their claim
they already won that.
Milne's, rights to the Pooh stories.
No, they already won that.
Yeah, but they won that through the effort of an aggressive release schedule of more films.
No.
The more films they had released, they used that filmmaking effort to
got
back
it for
up.
Death Plus 70.
It's a well-documented, a journalistic thing. You can look it up and read all about it in these magazines. The film studio game of getting rights and keeping rights. Why is it this new horrible Fantastic Four movie was just made and dumped on us? The one that got 8 or 7% on Rotten Tomatoes? Well, the reason why it was made was because it was a rights grab. Make the movie or lose the rights. That's
why I think that we're going to get more Middle Earth.
Yes, that is all. That it's a symptom, and it's also the cause of why these films are made this way. Why there's going to be more Middle Earth movies.
Why did Denny's
choose
to make
a
Fantastic Four menu and not give us a Hobbit menu?
That's
Denny's,
lame.
You messed up.
Denny's, you get a big lame for that.
Denny is a loser.
Who went to the Denny's to get a Thing burger?
But why would you
want one of
choose
those.
Fantastic Four over the Hobbit? Everybody went to go get a Hobbit breakfast.
Yeah, everyone wanted a Hobbit second breakfast, and they went twice.
Denny's.
Because it was a natural fit.
What?
Anyways, the thing is, let's continue to trace the threads. We are tracing threads on our episode today.
Now, the interesting thing on this next movie, let me tell you, it's done filming. They wrapped 2 weeks ago.
On Beauty and the Beast?
No. The next movie in our list...
Rogue One.
No, we already talked about that.
Okay, no, what's next? Star Wars...
Pirates.
Pirates of the Caribbean. What's the subtitle? Dead Men Tell No Tales.
We know...
That's the subtitle.
They've been filming in Australia for the last 5 months.
Faramir himself, David Wenham, Orlando Bloom, returning perhaps to the same role.
And
because now he's cursed to that ship. He's cursed at the end of World's End.
And he's a dead man.
He's actually an undead man. He takes the place of Octopus Face, Davy Jones. And he's now the captain of...
The captain needs a ship. The ship needs a captain.
The ship needs a captain. That's exactly right. So Orlando Bloom coming back to the universe of Pirates of the Caribbean, and David Wenham, who knows what role he's going to play.
Faramir on the high seas.
On the high seas, ladies.
Count me in.
Ladies.
I'm not a lady, and I'm in. Like that. He's a great actor.
Yeah, David Wenham is awesome.
I don't understand why he's not like a Luke Evans style leading man. Like. I don't know what happened, but it's great to see Adam Brown. So Orlando Bloom
and Adam Brown,
David Wenham, and
well.
Adam Brown are all in the new Pirates. So Orlando Bloom, famously an elf, Adam Brown, famously a dwarf, and David Wenham, famously a man. So an elf, a man, and a dwarf on the high seas.
What business?
Does an elf,
That's
a man,
true.
and a dwarf
it's true.
have on the high seas? We're going to find out with Pirates 4. What's crazy is that it says it's coming out summer 2017. It is summer 2015 right now, and they're wrapping filming. 2 years? That movie's coming out in 2 years?
There have been reports that production, the set of Dead Men Tell No Tales, it's been plagued with problems on the set.
Really?
Have you heard that too?
No.
I've heard that there's been studio big bosses coming down to sit down and give Johnny Depp a talking to. I've been told that he's been reprimanded by studio brass, and that his behavior and other people's behavior on set of Pirates of the Caribbean has been out of line. Has been really out of line. That's what I've been hearing. Yes. What do you think of that?
I hadn't heard that. But
yeah.
Then why?
I've been hearing that there's been mischief on the high seas on Pirates of the Caribbean.
I didn't even know if Johnny Depp was in this, but I guess he is undead.
Undead. Bela Lugosi is dead. I'm singing the Bauhaus song just for you goth heads out there from the 80s and 90s who love your goth music. Thank you for that. Never sell out, never compromise. Goth. Okay.
Well, Johnny Depp, not to excuse bad behavior, but Johnny Depp, his wife filed for divorce. She's getting the kids.
Speaking of bad behavior.
She's going to get the house in the south of France.
Oh gosh.
So
Vanessa Paradis?
He's...
really? His long-time
wife? He's...
I guess it's over, huh?
He's But he makes $30 million on each of these Pirates
It's kind of amazing that he does make that much. It used to be that Jim Carrey was the $20 million man on every picture. In the 90s, that was the top of the game.
You know that you mentioned Emma Watson, how great she is outside of filming, and I really think that Emma Watson's going to have a life that parallels Audrey Hepburn, who's
I was thinking the same thing.
Found success.
I was thinking the same
early in life.
To Audrey Hepburn. Yes.
Look, Emma Watson, they made so much money on those last 3 movies.
Yes.
Harry Potter.
Yes.
They don't need to work. I mean, each of those kids, I think, cleared $32 million.
Yeah.
Each of them.
I'm sure.
On each movie. So they walked away from Harry Potter with like $200 million.
She had her pick of colleges when she came here and came to an Ivy League university.
So she can do what she wants without fear of never being unemployed. Or anything like she
for sure.
She knows the platform that she has. She knows that anytime she says something, it will be picked up by the press.
Indeed, you know what? I think I get a sense that she's going to have a really big and rather illustrious. I would go so far as to say a grand career. I really think that Emma Watson has everything in alignment for her.
I mean, most people don't. They just look at see the old pictures of Audrey Hepburn on movie sets, and the young doe with the young doe and stuff like that. But through the 70s and 80s, man, Audrey Hepburn, she was out front of a lot of rights issues, and she knew the power of her personality.
She did, as did a young Jane Fonda.
Yes.
Go back in time to 1971. Watch Clute with a really, really young Donald Sutherland, who is now going to reappear as President Snow in the final Hunger Games movie that's about to come out. And take a look at this really interesting psychodrama, Academy Award-winning performance from a young Jane Fonda, 1971, in Clute. She won Best Actress for that performance.
If
And also she was expected to say really loud, angry things about the Vietnam War during her acceptance speech.
Yep.
But very famously, everyone in Hollywood was so nervous, she said, "Do you know what? There are a lot of things that I could say tonight, but I won't. And I just want to say thank you very, very much." And it was one of the shortest Oscar acceptance speeches in the history of the Oscars. And everyone was like, the power of what she did not say was very much in the room with famous war protester Jane Fonda at the time.
Jan in the chat room says the Pirates movie, this new Pirates movie, $70 million over budget.
That's insane. $70 million over budget?
Come on, we can't blame the elf for the man or the captain. That's got to be the dwarf.
Yeah, so Jan, you see, I've heard rumors too. I'm not the only one who's hearing these rumors about trouble in paradise. Forgive the trite cliche.
Did they have troubles on the other movies? No. So the only new person is Adam Brown.
Is the original Gore Verbinski director come back to direct?
I don't think so.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't think so.
I need to find out who is going to be the director for Pirates. IMDb. We're going to look it up real fast. If I can get online.
This film slate is just full of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, and the crazy thing is, if you think about
amazing.
That's how everyone. Most people will say that one of the most important people on any movie is the casting director.
Yes.
If you cast this movie right, you're going to have a hit on your hands. If everything else comes together. And the casting director also has to have the strength to say, you know what?
Yes.
You're not working out, and we have to replace you.
That's tough.
Just like they did with Aragorn.
Just like they did with Stuart Townsend being replaced by Viggo Mortensen.
And just like they did in Back to the Future, where they had to reshoot the first 3 months. Because Eric
Stoltz's footage,
and they're just like, you know what, this isn't the vibe that we wanted out of this movie. So
let's reshoot everything.
It says a lot about the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson, and his who's this casting person? Nigella, I think.
Nyla Dixon.
Nyla Dixon.
His New Zealand casting director is Nyla Dixon.
Yes. And Peter Jackson.
There are two directors of the Pirates film.
The fact that they cast all of these people before they were stars, Lee Pace, Luke Evans, Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, these are all people that were just on the up, and then Viggo Mortensen. Who ever heard of Viggo Mortensen until Lord of the Rings, and then he is A-list rock star above the titles after Lord of the Rings.
He's working with Cronenberg and working with everybody on these awesome movies. But out of all of the interesting threads that we examined on today's show, connecting threads from Lord of the Rings and Hobbit cinema universe into all these other Disney items, who is most conspicuous from their absence? Top 3, Viggo Mortensen, Elijah Wood, and Liv Tyler. They don't seem to be involved anywhere, at least not with the current news or current casting announcements. We don't seem to have them. And these are major properties that go all the way from Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Give us a call.
And all the way to Pixar movies and all the way to Finding Dory. And we don't seem to have any of the news. We get news about David Wenham and Andy Serkis left and right. And we get grand news about Dan Henna working on this bizarre Alice Through the Looking Glass, which I cannot wait to see. I'm really enthused about that. But who's missing? Why isn't Liv Tyler doing any more big feature films anymore in general?
She on that TV show, The Leftovers, on HBO.
Yeah, she's on left. Okay, so but I'm still talking feature films in general.
And Lee Pace, he's on a television show,
*Halt and Catch Fire*,
which is
on AMC, right? It's on AMC.
And he was on Guardians of the Galaxy, but I think he died.
Oh, he was great. He was a great villain in Guardians of the Galaxy. But I'm missing Elijah and Viggo and Liv in these other Marvel worlds and in these other Disney movies. I'm missing them.
Based on who they've cast so far, I think Elijah Wood, based on the other actors that they've cast in different roles, I think Elijah Wood is more appropriate at this point for the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
They've cast Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, who from The Social Network.
Yes, Jesse Eisenberg.
Ben Affleck
with that goofy long hair.
Batman. Henry Cavill is Superman.
Is it Cavill or Cavill?
I don't care.
We'll look it up. We'll find out.
But I think Elijah Wood, just his visage and his cadence, talking cadence is appropriate for where DC is headed. And guess what? We just found out outside of this Disney, Weta Workshop and Weta Digital have signed on for the entire DC universe. The visual look and all the visual effects for Batman vs. Superman, 3 Batman movies, and Justice League Part 1 and 2.
And Wonder Woman, too.
And Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Weta Workshop has signed up to do the visual effects for the DC universe.
And Suicide Squad as well? Well, Suicide Squad is in post-production, aren't they? Or they're in principal photography right now. And I'm sure they have a lot of post and effects things going on simultaneously.
I'm sure. We hear that Weta's supposed to be doing something there, but they're handling design and visual effects. So if you look at Disney, when they bought Lucasfilm, they bought Industrial Light and Magic.
Thank you, Jan. To our chatters, and hello, Eravandi again, and Sarah. Hey, Ellen Design. Lovely to see you every time, Ellen. Always glad to have you on the show. But these Norwegian indie directors who have done Kon Tiki, I can't pronounce their names because my Norwegian, my Scandinavian is really bad. Joachim Ronig and Espen Sandberg, it seems. They're the directors. 2 directors, not just one person. That's an odd bit.
No, that's the normal.
When you get 2 people directing together,
the Wachowskis do it. The Lego movies had 2 directors.
The Wachowskis.
Civil War has 2 directors.
Yes.
The last Captain America had 2 directors.
No, but the Wachowskis were the first people to do it since The Dark Crystal, when Frank Oz and Jim Henson together were co-directors of a major project. Otherwise, you have a single person running the helm. Usually. But the Wachowskis reinvigorated that, didn't they? Mm-hmm. To have 2 people co-directing? Yeah, they did.
But the Lego movie had 2 directors.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that do 2 directors now.
Yeah, now it's a thing.
Some would argue that The Hobbit had 2 directors, Peter Jackson and Andy Serkis. The title they gave Andy Serkis was second unit director, something like that. But we know Andy.
Yes.
And we know the amount of motion capture required.
Yes.
And we know that
we know his attention to detail and his experience with all these things.
And we know he was doing a lot of helicopter shots and stuff like that. So Andy, I mean, they could,
Yeah.
When are we going to see an directed by Andy Serkis movie?
I heard that there's bad news for his Jungle Book, that his studio, the Imaginarium, was trying to launch. It's on hold?
Yeah.
But Disney's reboot of its own Jungle Book is going to go forward.
Andy Serkis and Benedict Cumberbatch are not involved in the Disney Jungle Book that you just heard about.
The most interesting thing to keep in mind about Disney's The Jungle Book is that it was the very final film that Walt Disney himself supervised and controlled, quite physically. He got more involved in The Jungle Book than he had been in many of the previous animated features, including Sleeping Beauty. Mm-hmm. And he died during the production. The actual director is credited as Wolfgang Reithman. The director of The Jungle Book is Wolfgang Reithman, but kind of like the way that Tobe Hooper is credited as the director of Poltergeist, you really know that Steven Spielberg was in control of the whole gamut from the background. And that's why Poltergeist looks and smells and feels so Spielbergian and not very much Tobe Hooperian, if you could say that. So The Jungle Book had Disney all over it, and he died. At that moment, that was it. They weren't sure if The Jungle Book was going to be a financial disaster. They were ready to close down the animation studio because everyone was quite fearful that the movie-going public would not buy tickets after the death of Walt Disney. They felt that the audience would not even accept The Jungle Book into the marketplace. It cost about $8 million to make, and to date, it has grossed $208.5 million worldwide since its $8 million expenditure to make. One of the highest grossing, ratio films ever in the Disney canon. Now, the funny thing is, when it was adapted from Rudyard Kipling's original books, Disney had his hands on everything, tight ship, controlling everything. He handed the book to his director, Wolfgang Reithman, and he handed copies to his animators, and Disney's first instructions to all of them were, don't read it. This is not just an urban legend, this is fact. He handed the book to his animators and said, don't read this. I want your Jungle Book to be something else entirely. I want it to be a showcase for these musical numbers, first of all, and blah, 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 blah. And so as you watch Disney's great animated feature from 1966, released in 67, I believe, It just feels like an episodic string of musical numbers, and it's threadbare. There's no narrative at all. Hardly anything except that the little boy, Mowgli, does not want to leave the jungle, and the animals are trying to lead him off to, a new destiny, but he just doesn't want to go. But nothing else really happens in the whole story. This is one of the big challenges facing the screenwriters now, as Disney is about to do this. And I think it would have been very complicated for Andy Serkis to get his own truer to Kipling, because it would have had more verisimilitude to the original, I'm sure. You know how Andy Serkis is. We know how he is. I think it would have been much more problematic for us to have two competing Jungle Books in the marketplace at the same time, because, you have problems with adapting that story. And they did back then in 1967, and I'm sure they will now as well.
And the new trailer for Victor Frankenstein that just came out today has nothing to do with the Universal Cinematic Universe, which is going to be rebooting, including Luke Evans as Dracula.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I think there's room for more than one Jungle Book.
You think?
I'm just bummed.
They've done others live action in the past, and they bombed.
I just hope that...
They've had lots of Jungle Book turkeys in the past.
After Jungle Book came out, Disney Studios reused a lot of the characters and recast those same characters with the same look and the same animation and the same voice in different roles. So you saw Robin Hood, the Disney version of Robin Hood, which is my favorite animated movie. That was like Baloo from Baloo recast as
Little John.
Well,
and believe it or not, he does the exact same dance. The dance that he does with Lady Cluck is the animators reusing the same animation with his dance with Uncle Louie.
And if you notice, the Jungle Book, the Aristocats, and Robin Hood, they all have this rough sketch feels because at the time Disney had at Jungle Book, Disney was one of the first companies to buy a Xerox copy machine.
Yep, and that's why it looks that way.
Xerox said, "Hey, instead of paying all these inkers to trace your sketchers that are doing the actual animation, you can just Xerox."
Yeah.
The sketches themselves.
And so a whole new department was born in the world of 2D animation. It was called Xerography. And watch some of your Saturday morning cartoons from the 80s, like the Smurfs, or the wonderful classic Dungeons & Dragons animated series from the 80s. Any of those shows, guess what? You'll see in the credits at the end of the show, Xeroxing or Xerography. There's a whole department of staff they would hire to do that process.
That's right.
It became the industry standard of 2D animation to use the Xerox device.
I just loved that Disney started taking their old characters, like from the Jungle Book, then they put them in Robin Hood.
Oh, they were cutting corners on the animation to reduce the cost.
Not just that.
Yes.
Not just that, but then they took Baloo and King Louie and they put them in Tailspin, the TV series.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Disney did this thing where they took old characters, even their duck characters, and made DuckTales and Tailspin, and they made Darkwing Duck, and Rescue Rangers. They started taking the Aristocat, and and I thought it was a stroke of genius to take these animated characters and recast the animated characters.
Yeah.
And I would love to see some of that now that Disney owns Star Wars, Pixar, Marvel, and their own animation. I would love to see if they took some of these these other characters that they're creating with the help of Andy Serkis and things like that. And recast them in a whole new
big question
thing.
Is this new live action Jungle Book gonna have CGI recreations of Bagheera and Baloo and of course
according to
Shere Khan, the tiger, who's voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, right?
No, that's in Andy Serkis's.
Oh, that was Andy Serkis's one?
Yeah.
It's on hold.
So
okay, my mistake.
But
are they just going to look like real animals? Will they look like real
this one
jungle?
Has Bill Murray as Baloo and Christopher Walken as King Louie.
Christopher Walken as King Louie. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
No.
Christopher Walken is going to be King Louie.
The footage
singing, "Oh, I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP."
Yeah.
Well, because that's the best song. Everyone loves the songs in the Jungle Book. It's an ultimate classic. It's a family. Absolutely adored classic, but it is not a proper adaptation of Kipling. Just so the literati out there know and are satisfied by me saying that. But I wonder if they're going to put some more backbone in this new adaptation. I wonder.
The people that saw the footage at D23 of the Jungle Book said it's the most realistic CG animals you've ever seen.
Really?
These CG.
Oh, so they're hard at work on that.
Panther is not cartoony.
His name is Bagheera.
Bagheera. All the characters, they look real. They look
really
really real, realer than Azog and Bolg, and realer than
Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Everyone that saw the footage said it was next level.
They had a really good-looking lion in Narnia films. Aslan was great.
Look, they had good-looking wargs in Lord of the Rings. The wargs in Lord of the Rings looked more real than the wargs in The Hobbit.
No, the wargs in the Two Towers looked kind of...
They looked real.
They looked kind of iffy.
They looked like hyenas, but they looked like they were real hyenas that were real robots. Like when the dwarf, when Gimli is pushing up on...
They looked real there, yeah. But
I mean,
okay,
just the little curly hairs and stuff like that. Like those wargs in the Two Towers looked more real than anything I saw in The Hobbit.
All right.
Will you give me that?
I'll give you that. All right, if you want to do that. Okay.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, live from Meltdown Comics, the center of all things geek, the home of Nerdist, the home of comics,
the home of everything that's cool and geek. Everything. Thank you for joining us on this little journey as we have explored the many interesting interweavings and connections. If you want a little reference to Cloud Atlas, there's little bits and threads of everyone's lives and destinies intertwining in the Disney universe, because the Disney universe includes Pixar, Pirates, Star Wars, remakes of Disney classics, and Marvel. That's a lot. That's 5 major tentpole franchises all under the Disney universe.
And a lot of Lord of the Rings and Hobbit actors.
All of our favorite Lord of the Rings actors, with the exception of Elwood, Viggo, and Liv, are appearing in all of these great...
I think they'd be better off in the DC universe.
Maybe so. Hey, I have a place for Viggo Mortensen in the DC universe if he wants to take it. Okay? There's a great...
Actually, I would love to see... Look. I would love to see Viggo in the Universal Monster Universe.
Viggo needs to be in the Marvel... No, you mean in Universal? No. Instead of sticking Viggo...
The Wolfman?
As a Wolfman, no. Okay, that could be interesting, but no. In the DC world, I'm more keen...
The Mummy?
I'm just really, really keen to see some of my favorite characters from Darkseid, which is sort of analogous to Thanos on the Marvel side. But in Darkseid, I think Viggo could do motion capture and be the most badass Darkseid. That would be so cool. But that's just me. Anyways.
It is just you. Thank you for joining us. We're here.
It has been a lovely show, and we're going to see so much of you guys in the very near future as we continue to parse the worlds of science fiction and fantasy and adventure and geekdom and genre films. They're all going to be...
I'm excited about all those Disney movies, especially Alice in the Looking Glass with Richard Armitage.
What is Dan Hanna going to do? Art directing that. And, hey, not too far around the corner, Dragon Con in Atlanta. So all you folks gearing up for Dragon Con...
Schedule should be posted today.
It should be.
Larry.
We love you guys. Thank you for joining us on the show. Follow me on Twitter at QuickBeam2000. And he is at Justin's Big Idea. Signing off. Sayonara. That's our closing theme. This graphic is great.